Hello everybody, I'm Eternal Flame here, and recently I just rewatched Yuta re-entering into the anime, and it gave me this entire idea for a video because of an arc I really like and I've talked about on the channel before, which is the Itadori Extermination Arc. Because the Itadori Extermination Arc is one that sounds really cool in premise, does a lot for the world in my opinion, and could have been a near perfect arc, as well as a perfect follow-up for Shibuya, and a perfect lead-up into the Culling Games. However, Jujutsu Kaisen suffers a pretty bad issue of pacing, because several plot points end up going too quickly with Jujutsu Kaisen, and that's like one of my main complaints about Jujutsu Kaisen in my opinion. It would not suffer anywhere near as bad if the pacing was calmed down a little bit. Now, its pacing is not too massive an issue, I still absolutely love Jujutsu Kaisen, however, the pacing is still an issue that the manga has itself, and I wanted to take this video to talk about how I would fix the Itadori Extermination Arc, and how I would make it better, and why I think it has so much potential to be an amazing arc. Now, first I'm going to talk about the arc itself and why I think it has so much potential to be amazing, and then I'm going to get into how I would fix the arc. Now, the arc itself is pretty good. It's actually really small of an arc, down to the point where several people don't even consider it an actual arc in and of itself, and just include it as part of the Zenin clan extermination arc. We're in this arc after Yuji is still feeling a massive amount of guilt from everything that Sukuna did inside of his body, as well as all the people he was still not able to save. He decided to leave everybody, with Choso directly following after him, in order for them to start taking out the cursed spirits that were released out of the 10 million of the cursed spirits. Of course, they weren't going to be taking out all of them, they were still able to take out some of them nonetheless. Then the higher-ups declare several orders, basically as a show of power, while also trying to change the world back to what it was originally supposed to be, instead of having to deal with the issue that was Gojo Satoru, including reinstating the execution law on Yuji Itadori, with Yuta Akotsu being appointed as the direct executioner, as well as Naoya joining into the fight in order to try and kill both Yuji and Megumi. However, Megumi wasn't present, leading to Naoya fighting against Choso, while Yuta ends up fighting against Yuji, and the both of them are defeated by Yuta Akotsu, with Yuta Akotsu dragging them away. And that's basically the end of the arc. Now, before I talk about how I would fix the arc, I do want to say this. I get why the Itadori Extermination Arc is so incredibly small and so lackluster, and the reason why is basically just a stepping stone. It's for one of two reasons. Either A, JJK paces itself really fast, or B, and this is what I actually believe Gege was going for a narrative, is to show that the higher-ups do not have anywhere near as much power over the world as they think, that they are not anywhere near as important as they think, and they just exist. That they do not matter all too much, and the narrative shows that as a result of that. They are not focused on it at all, and they don't deserve to be focused on because they are not that important. And now, while I do get that that is the main narrative for JJK, I really do not think it at all fits for JJK for the higher-ups to just be that little important, like at all. Because Gojo's main goal has always completely revolved around the higher-ups and fixing the world itself that the higher-ups had created for their own selfish benefit, and wanting to make sure the world stays the same. Yuta Akotsu would be dead because of the higher-ups existing, because they wouldn't want to accept such a threat that was Yuta Akotsu. Same with Yuji Itadori. By undercutting and underselling the power of the higher-ups, it undersells Gojo's goal. Makes Gojo's goal a lot easier to accomplish because of the fact that it just feels like the higher-ups barely matter at all in this world. Well, I just think in general that this arc had the potential to be more, to expand on the world, to show sorcerers that weren't on Gojo's side, because every single sorcerer, or at least 98% of the sorcerers we have seen, are either on Gojo's side or on Kenny's side. We have never seen a sorcerer that was on the higher-up side, or a sorcerer who wanted Yuji Itadori dead. Use this as a chance to show the effects of Shibuya, show the consequences of Shibuya, show people who would want Yuji dead for having Sukuna existing in him, either because they see Sukuna as a threat, or because they had someone who they valued taken out by Sukuna's domain. You have so many opportunities to have these important moments show up and come up in this arc, as well as to show how much Yuji has grown, rather than just having him immediately taken out by Yuta Akotsu following his battle with Mahito. This would be a perfect time to show how much Yuji has grown, and it would also allow the show of just how much stronger Yuta has gotten, the true strength of a special grade sorcerer, because while we've seen a strength of a special grade sorcerer, that's only through Gojo, and it's been made pretty clear throughout the narrative repeatedly that Gojo is not a standard special grade sorcerer, he's a special grade sorcerer of his own caliber, that no one other than Sukuna himself directly compared to Gojo. And by showing Yuji improve, or showing how much Yuji has grown from Shibuya and continues to grow onward, it only makes us more and more clear the true strength of a special grade. It makes us clear of the distance between a special grade and a grade 1 sorcerer, and how far characters are going to have to grow and climb in order to help fight against the future threats that are to come. Because I do believe the Itadori Extermination Arc, or at least part of it that we do see, is genuinely perfect. But it would only be perfect if it was an ending, not a full arc in and of itself. I do believe this will be the end part of an arc, and not just the full-on arc. Because just this massive amount of build-up in our mind that Yuji is getting stronger and stronger, only for Yuta Okkotsu to show up, the previous protagonist of the manga, and this special grade level sorcerer show up and show the true strength of a special grade, would be absolutely amazing. However, that's just me talking about the potential of this arc. Now I want to get into how I would fix this arc. Now, my main goal will not be to change this arc massively. I still want to keep the endpoint the exact same of Yuta and Naoya versus Choso and Yuji, and that's how them being defeated and them reuniting with the gang through Yuta Okkotsu defeating them and faking Yuji Itadori's death. However, the change will immediately start at the beginning when Yuta Okkotsu is called down in order to be the one executioner for Yuji Itadori. Now, this is where the first immediate change happens, where they don't call down just one executioner for Yuji Itadori, but we see several sorcerers there. Now, I've always found it really weird that they only had one executioner for the vessel of Sukuna, if I'm going to be honest, so this is where several of the sorcerers would be introduced. Of course, Yuta Okkotsu would be the main focus, but there would also be just several of these sorcerers that some have varying appearances. Some would likely look stronger, some would likely look weaker. It'd be a really cool way to introduce sorcerers while continuing with the world building, all while hyping up the main conflict and the main focus of Yuta versus Yuji Itadori. And now some of you guys might be thinking, isn't this just too many characters and wouldn't most people just know they're jobbers automatically? And to that I would normally agree if it wasn't for the fact that Gege seems to have a specialty at introducing characters that realistically stay around for less than 10 chapters, yet still become immediate fan favorites, cough Kashimo, cough Ryu, and are still able to grab the hearts of many. So I doubt that he wouldn't be able to do the same with here, especially by his way of establishing motivations. Now, I don't want them to like have full chapters dedicated to their backstories and motivations and who they were as sorcerers, but panels dedicated to who they were, as well as why they're even doing this, would do wonders for them, especially considering Gege has already shown a way to just introduce characters with aura, to give them this aura that even after they lose, that aura still remains. This is also where you could get into the potential motivations for these sorcerers as well. For example, you could have a few sorcerers who had lost people in Shibuya, people who were close to them, and want revenge against both Yuji and Sukuna, as consequence for what Sukuna did, effectively making Yuji public enemy number 1, and these grade 1 sorcerers or grade 1 level sorcerer people with these massive rage amps towards Yuji Itadori and hatred amps would be hunting him down to try and kill him with these potential curse techniques. It would also allow the ability to show how much Choso actually cares for his little brother, showing Choso's ability to protect his little brother and try his best, while also falling into Yuji's wishes, because Yuji would most definitely not want to kill these people because he wouldn't blame them for being angry for them. It would be a great sign of Yuji's character, Choso's character, while also making the actions done by Sukuna just have that much more of an impact and always exist in the narrative. A constant reminder that Sukuna is a monster that should never ever be let out again. Another type of sorcerer I would create for this specific type of people is just people who are just doing their job, people who don't really have any type of feelings or emotions towards Yuji, but just are loyalists to the higher-ups and the higher-ups' way of doing things. These would probably be some of the least interesting of the group, but I could see them also having their own cold type of aura to them, because they're just here to do the job and they don't really care about much else other than getting the job done. Another interesting concept of sorcerer that I came up with for this specific arc to be hunting down the group are people who specifically actually want to steal Sukuna away from Yuji and put it in themselves. Sukuna is an insanely powerful being, as a lot of people know, so I could see some people very easily being very dumb and try and become vessels for Sukuna in their own way in order to reach the levels of Gojo, being jealous of the strength that Gojo have and being so desperate to achieve that level of strength. Either that or showing the level of freedom that Gojo has and how a lot of people envy that level of freedom and want that level of freedom that Gojo has access to. The level of freedom of being able to do whatever you want that Gojo has and can really do, because no one can really stop Gojo at that current point in time. This would also show Yuji's anger in a whole new spotlight, because it would basically be making fun of Yuji's burden in order to carry Sukuna and wanting him to be a path of power while completely ignoring the suffering that Sukuna had caused to so many people up to this point, and all of the people who had died, basically insulting everybody up to this point, but also pointing out just how selfish the Jujutsu world is and how selfish the race for power is in the Jujutsu world. Now, each of the battles I would want to be different and interesting. I would want there to be a max of 3 battles, mainly just to make sure that things don't feel like they're dragging out too much before we get to the main encounter of Yuta versus Yuji, just to continue to build up hype more and more. With the first battle, I could see being a mass amount of people fighting directly against Yuji and Choso, and Yuji and Choso just barely pulling out a win. The second battle I could see being against an incredibly powerful sorcerer, one that Yuji and Choso would have to team up against in order to specifically fight, and them just barely pulling out the win, and the third being a very tricky sorcerer, or a group of tricky sorcerers who they would need to use specific curse techniques and strategies in order to battle. Now, I'm not going to just make curse techniques for them because I don't think this is the type of video to do that. I just want to give out my ideas for how to fix the arc. I don't really want to just do an entire rewrite of the arc. If you do want to see me do a video of a rewrite of the arc, leave that in the comment section down below, because I might actually just make a full-on rewrite of the arc with the characters I would include in this. So I might do that later on. And then finally, the arc would end off with Yuta and Yuji's battle, as well as Naoya and Choso's battle happening the exact same as it did in the original canon. But there is one more change I would make to after the battle, which this scene I would like to add in is Yuta finishing off the higher-ups after he returns in order to confirm that Yuji is dead to them. I think this is by far and away the best place to put the higher-ups death scene in, as well as just give this general theme that even though the higher-ups thought they were in so much control of absolutely everything, they really were in control of nothing. Plus, there's no reason to really keep them alive up to this point, especially considering they don't really do anything at all in the Culling games, and they kind of get killed immediately after in the 1 month time skip completely off screen. So I think here would be the actual perfect place in order to put them down once and for all, and to show that the creation of Gojo's ideal world will start after the Culling games and after they get over the challenge that is the Culling games. Now, what would happen to these extra sorcerers? I don't know. That's up to them. Maybe they would enter into the Culling games trying to win and get eliminated by one of the high tier players. Maybe they'd end up just leaving Japan entirely, not being registered with the Culling games, and seeing, okay, they're way over in their heads, let's just move to another country. Who knows up to this point? There are several things that could end up happening with them. However, that's basically about everything I want to talk about with this video. Now, I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are on this entire video, on this entire topic, on whether you guys like my change to the Itadori Extermination Arc, whether you guys think this would be a better way to do it or a worse way to do it, or if you guys have your own ways to fix and change the Itadori Extermination Arc, or if you guys would just keep it the exact same as canon. However, that's everything from me. I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out. Have a good day.